We fight for that inch.
Rarely do I see any American Italians eating in here.
But I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
Villkoret är att jag får leva.
Yes! Yes!
Hey there, welcome to Real Genius. I am Chris Vognar, otherwise known as The Asset.
Boy, I did not realize you were going to finish the asset part of it. I'm Robert Wilonsky, and I do something at the Dallas Morning News.
I'm the asset man, I'm coming for you.
You are the, please, by all means.
See, I've been swimming in these Jason Bourne movies for the past week. We are talking about Jason Bourne this week, and I just can't have all the terminology. Call the asset. Is the asset there? Where's the target? Da-da-da-da-da. This is probably my favorite franchise that is going currently, and we can talk a little bit about why that is.
It's the fifth one.
It's the fifth one. It's been going for 14 years now.
Oh my God.
I think with maybe a couple of exceptions, it gets better as it goes. I think the third movie, Ultimatum, is still the best one.
See, I think the second one is my favorite.
Which is the
one.
first Paul Greengrass.
Right, that's
one.
my favorite one.
So this is Jason Bourne, of course, the CIA assassin who's still trying to figure out who he is.
Still.
Played by Matt Damon, who's back in the saddle, along with the director, Paul Greengrass.
Mm-hmm.
They both took the last movie off. Jeremy Renner was in that one. I actually think that one's really good. I think they're all pretty darn good, but you can be contrarian.
I'm not. I'm just keep dozing off while we keep talking about
I have that effect on people.
No.
So let's watch a little action scene from the new Jason Bourne. I believe this takes place in Greece.
It does. Is this the first chase that we're watching?
This is the motorcycle chase.
That's in Greece.
Yes. So motorcycle chase. Ready.
Suspect matching Bourne's description has stolen a police motorcycle. Parsons is at the statue of Athena.
Copy that.
Bravo team is down.
I think they actually cut that differently than they do in the actual movie, which bothers me a little bit because the editing is so crucial to these films. The Ultimatum actually won an Oscar for film editing.
Wait, so you're saying the clip we saw just now is different than the...
I think a little bit, yeah, because it's a longer scene, and they have to compress it for the scene. But that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about Paul Greengrass for just a second. To me, he's this guy who brings this almost documentary sensibility to these Hollywood blockbusters. And he does it with the editing, he does it with the handheld camera work. And, you know, he's very serious. These movies are, in some ways, the anti-James Bond, because James Bond movies are very quippy. Romance is always pretty front and center. In fact, I would argue that the Daniel Craig James Bond movies were very much influenced by the Bourne franchise.
Yes, they became very grim.
They became pretty grim. I still think the Bourne movies do that grimness a little bit better than the Bond movies do, but I think that speaks to the impact that this series has had on pop culture.
I love Greengrass. I think he directed my favorite film of his, is United 93.
Amazing movie.
It's the hardest film I've ever watched.
Yes.
By a mile, because of its content, because of the way it was shot, and because it has the most absolutely harrowing, haunting, frightening, terrifying, stick-with-you final 15 seconds of any movie I've ever seen. So whatever he does from that moment on, I'm firmly in his camp. That said, this movie, well, let me go back. When we talk about him taking over with the second film, which is the Bourne.
That was the Bourne Supremacy,
Supremacy.
after Doug Liman directed the Bourne Identity.
Doug Liman, who had done Go.
And Swingers.
Right, Doug Liman, who had a pretty frothy touch. And I think the first one's kind of conventional, especially once you brought Greengrass in and saw what he could do with this. The fight scenes in Greengrass's films were really claustrophobic.
They hurt more.
They were very visceral. You could feel them, you could hear them, you could almost sort of smell them, the blood in them.
We should say Ultimatum also won 2 Oscars for sound, which gets to what you're talking about.
So that's what I love about the second and third films. I think there is something about the way those films were shot that was so revolutionary for a franchise like this. So the thing that bothered me about this one is it felt a bit repetitive. And it's repetitive within itself. We saw there the great sequence in Greece. This movie is bookended by 2 chases. One in Greece, the other one that takes place in Vegas.
And they're both awesome.
See, I didn't think the one in Vegas was great until the end, and I'm not going to talk about why. But to me, it felt very boring, very conventional, and very familiar. I just felt like I had seen this before, maybe in a Fast and Furious franchise. Maybe, as I was telling my son on the drive back from seeing Jason Bourne, to me, there are only 2 great car chases in movies, and this ain't one of them.
I think it is. I think the
you put this with the French Connection and Bullet.
I would. Those are the 2 that I was thinking of as I watched that last chase scene.
Really? I would put the first one. I think the first one is great.
Dodge Charger and the large SWAT vehicle that's just basically mowing down rows of
Which
cars.
I have to say, in the
it.
wake of Nice, it's really hard to watch that. And there are scenes throughout this. There are police officers who were killed with great ease, and there are moments in this, and maybe that's what makes Greengrass such a great filmmaker, is that we can watch very topical films, and feel them viscerally, but also react to them as filmgoers.
Yeah, these movies, they always feel very now to me, every step of the way. The first one came out the year after 9/11. Now we're in this crazy world of 2016.
Where that would be a terrorist attack.
Yeah, where something terrifying is happening.
But
pretty much every day.
Let me also say this, though, and because it's also one of the central plots is the CIA working with a Facebook-like company to do online surveillance.
Silicon Valley social media company.
This is like the most evil episode of Silicon Valley ever. Like, that's basically...
It's a lot less funny, too.
Right, if Pied Piper... Well, I mean, really, you could almost see this being like the most awful thing that would ever happen to Pied Piper, with Tommy Lee Jones as the head of the CIA. If he had weaseled in there with Thomas Middleditch,
I would so watch that episode.
Which kind of is what I had to kind of convince myself I was watching in order to make it through some of it, because it felt really familiar. It's the same plot that was in Dark Knight Returns. It's the same plot in so many other films we've seen recently about how a flick of the switch, and it's the same plot of The Kingsman, for God's sakes. The exact same plot of The Kingsman, where Samuel Jackson is going to give everybody the software that's going to let everybody do everything they want, and suddenly it's going to just be an online surveillance.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think these movies are plot movies. I think they are execution movies.
Right.
And
well, the plot.
I think they're concept movies. One of the things that
the plot's awful.
Can
I just say that?
I don't think it's awful. I just don't think it's remarkable, and I don't really think. I think it's there just to hold up what we're looking at.
He's still trying to get answers.
Of course he is. It's a series. You can't end the series yet.
What's the next movie? What's the name of my dog from childhood? I need to know the name of my dog.
I almost hope there isn't another movie. I almost hope this is it.
What was my favorite ice cream? I can't remember the name of my favorite ice cream.
A few things I admire about this film and the rest of them.
Ding dongs or Twinkies. Yes. I can't remember.
It was kind of funny with the first example. It's diminishing returns.
Much like the franchise itself.
These movies take for granted that the CIA is evil and will kill Americans. These other movies that you're talking about, they don't really go there. They don't really want to get quite that real. There's always some old corrupt white dude ordering everything around from a series of monitors. In the past, these old corrupt white dudes have been played by Chris Cooper, by David Strathern. Now it's Tommy Lee Jones, who I think fills the role quite capably.
Tommy Lee Jones, who now looks just like Two-Face in Batman Forever.
His face is starting to melt a little bit.
St. Mark's his own.
And there's always, the only people who help Jason Bourne in these movies are women, which I find fascinating. All of the guys are compromised and corrupt, and whether it's Joan Allen or Julia Stiles, or in this case Alicia Vikander,
Julia Stiles
who's
returns.
fantastic, yes. none of the guys, all the guys just want death.
Well, because look, it's Matt Damon. The ladies love Matt Damon.
That must be it.
I mean, I really, it does. It is very good.
LL Cool Matt.
It is very funny how that does tend to be the case.
So I don't. It sounds like you've run out of gas on the series, and I have not yet. I'm just like, it's been a few years. This is awesome. Give me some more. The film editing, immaculate. The sound, unbelievable. The pacing.
You
for me,
appreciate the technique. I got a little weary of the fact that it felt really familiar. Whether it's the plot, whether it's the fact that I just feel like I'm so bored of his search for answers. And it was so clear what the big answer to his question was very early on.
Are you bored?
I also have to say, I did not find much. I was a little irked by the Manchurian Candidate plot point.
What's wrong with that?
I've seen it a billion times. I was bored of it by the time it showed up in
you're
Star Trek: The Undiscovered
You're a pop
Country.
culture critic, so you see these things and you're like, oh, it's been done. Whereas
It just felt like a mishmash, where the other films didn't feel like a mishmash. It just felt like an homage to itself and other things that had come before it.
Yeah,
because it felt like a reboot following what I think most people thought was a misfire. But I don't hate the Jeremy Renner.
Yeah,
I just thought the Jeremy Renner movie is boring as hell.
I think
for
we
the last
did
10
this
minutes.
for the Jeremy Renner movie, actually, and we both liked it quite a bit.
Right, but I think Jeremy Renner movie, actually, I went back and watched that recently.
Our video or the movie?
I think it's,
Our video or the movie?
The movie. I think it's boring until the last 10 minutes. I think it really doesn't hold up very well. I like the opening sequence a great deal.
Is great.
And the end is great. The middle is kind of squishy. This felt just like a reboot. I felt like it's
the 5th movie in a series, though.
I know, boy, howdy.
And I don't know how you can't be somewhat derivative. I think the least derivative one is, ironically, the Jeremy Renner one, because it's a different character.
Right.
And a different filmmaker.
Of course, people saw the Jeremy Renner one, saw the glimpses of Matt Damon, and went, oh, I wish this was a Matt Damon movie.
Right.
Well, here you go.
Yes, exactly. So I say go see it. Robert says, what do you say?
Do what you feel like you have to.
What saith you?
Do what you feel like you have
That's
to.
such a libertarian answer.
Vote your conscience.
Yes. Vote your conscience on Jason Bourne. I say if you like the other ones, you're going to like this a lot. And you say it's done, and you just want to vote your conscience. Robert's cracking up before our eyes. Let's just put the camera on him.
So next week we're going to talk about politics.
Maybe.
Or maybe not.
Political movies.
Whatever.
We're going to talk about some of our favorite political movies next week. And now we've committed to that on camera, so we better actually do it. Have a great.
Actually wear a shirt that closes next time.
That would be more sexy.
That might be good.
See you next week.